Okay, y'all can see what we're up against today. We're baking this easy whiskey German chocolate inside out cake. We're gonna drizzle her with a little bit of chocolate on the outside, dust her with a little bit of confectioners sugar, and y'all, we're gonna have this easy cake on the table in no time. I'll meet you on the counter. Okay, so we're ready to get this inside out German chocolate cake going. In this bowl, I already have 1 box of German chocolate cake mix. Okay, 1 box right here. All right, in this, I'm going to add some instant coffee. Anytime that I'm working with a chocolate cake, I like to put instant coffee in there to intensify the chocolate taste. So I put 2 teaspoons, and it could be caffeinated or decaffeinated coffee. It doesn't matter as long as it's instant coffee. Okay, now these are pretty much our wet ingredients. I'm sorry, our dry ingredients. I'm just talking all over the place here. Now I'm ready to add all of the wet stuff to it. Okay, so I'm gonna put 4 eggs, 4 large eggs in here. All right. And I'm going to move that around just a little bit. Alright, now I want to add a cup of milk. And that is any milk that you take in your cereal. And for me, that's almond milk. So I'm going to do a cup of almond milk here. Move that around a little bit. Now, I'm going to add I'm doing a 1/2 cup of oil, and this is just vegetable oil. A little Crisco vegetable oil there. Not advertising for Crisco, but that's just what I'm using. So, a little vegetable oil, 1/2 cup. Now, I'm going to put my Boozin in here right now. And for me, I'm using whiskey. I'm just using a little bit of this right here. It's American honey whiskey, but I'm not advertising for them either, because it could be any whiskey that you have in the pantry. And I'm using 1 tablespoon. And if you don't want to use whiskey, by all means, feel free to use vanilla extract. But you know that's got a little alcohol in it too. A great percentage of it is alcohol. Okay? Now, we've got our wet ingredients in here. So now I'm going to get my mixer together and go on and put it in here and get this going. Okay? I'm going to beat it for about 2 minutes to get some air in here. Okay? Okay, I'm done with mixing there. Now what I want to do is get my bundt pan ready, and we're using just a regular size bundt pan, and I'm going to spray a little baker's joy in there so that we won't have any cake sticking going on. All right, and I got my oven preheating at 350 degrees there. Okay. Now, I'm going to show you the last thing that we're going to do to this cake before it goes into that pan. I'm going to use 1 tub of this coconut pecan frosting here. I'm going to fold that in, and that's why we save that to last, because it's going to fold it in. So just get it and drop it in, and that's why this is called an inside out cake, because your frosting is inside your cake. But I do a little something to it at the end anyway, you know, so it's not, even though my frosting is in the cake and the cake is super moist, you know, I just still do a little something else there. And I'm getting every smidget of this out of this tub. I'm just that way. Okay, so now we're just gonna fold that in, okay? And I don't want to do that with the mixer, because it's not necessary. Just get it folded in. And I'm kind of pressing down with my spoon as I mix it in there. Going all around. And y'all. That's pretty much it. Now what we want to do is get it into our bundt pan, okay? Okay, so we got our pan here, and I want you to just see the consistency of the mix. You see, it just look like little lumps in there, but it's smooth, but with the coconut pecan frosting peeking up through there. Okay, so now we're just gonna pour this into our pan. Okay, so we got her all in the pan there, and we're just gonna do this a few times, plop her down a few times to work some of those air pockets or air bubbles out of there. So now I'm gonna get this into the oven, and I'm gonna let her bake for anywhere from 40 to 50 minutes, and I'm gonna check at the 40-minute point. Put my skewer in there to see if it comes out dry. If it does, she's ready. But if it needs a little bit more time, I'll give her that extra 10 minutes or so. Okay, so we're going into the oven, but don't y'all leave me now. I know it's hard to keep y'all here to the end of a video, but stick with me because we're gonna make a little glaze to go on top of this little mama when she comes out of the oven. Okay, all right, I'll see you all back in a few minutes. Okay, y'all, so there she is, and it took her about 45 minutes to cook. But as you always given cook times, monitor your cake, because for me it was 45 minutes. For you, it might be 40 minutes. For someone else, it may be 50. So just your first test is to press her. When she pressed back to you, you know that little bounce in her, she's pretty much ready. And then you get a skewer, stick it in, skewer comes out clean, she's ready. So there she is for me at 45 minutes of baking. I'm gonna let her sit in this pan for about 2 minutes till she loosen up a little bit, and then she'll go over here on this cooling rack for about another 45 minutes or so. And once she's cooled, we'll start our glaze. Okay, so she's been sitting there for a couple of minutes. And so I'm just gonna go ahead and turn her out, and whatever it is or is not, y'all gonna see it along with me, because y'all know how these pound cakes can be a little temperamental when they want to be. So we're just gonna flip her out here and see what she does. Okay, she's all right. And a little wounded right there, but she's okay. So there she is, and now we're gonna let her sit here. And yeah, she's a beauty too. And we're gonna let her sit here for almost an hour until she has cooled down to at least room temperature. And then we're gonna make the glaze after it cools down. Now I'll tell you all, this cake really doesn't need a glaze. And if it were just for me right here in this house, I wouldn't put anything on it, because it is perfect as is, just like we are. We are perfect by ourselves, okay? But just put the little glaze on it, just prettier up a little bit, because I'm actually baking this for someone. So we'll be back at her in about 45 minutes or maybe even an hour. And you can make this cake the night before and glaze it the next day. That's a good option for you, but I need to get this one over to somebody later on today. So let's leave her sitting here, and I'll see you all back in a second. All right? Okay, so what I've got going in my little saucepan here is a half cup of heavy cream. A little heavy cream here, because we're making this this little glaze, this little chocolate glaze for our cake, and it is finished cooling. So now that it's kind of going there, I'm going to go ahead and pour in my little chocolate morsels here, and I'm using a 4 ounces of just some little Hershey's chocolate morsels, and these are the semi-sweet ones. Okay, so all I want to do is just get those to melt, and you saw I just turned that the fire off underneath this chocolate. So that's melted pretty quickly, huh? All right, so now that I've got that melted, and it's less than 5 minutes to really make this little glaze here, okay? Now, I'm gonna pour in a 1/4 cup. This is some light corn syrup. It's there, light corn syrup. Okay, get that all in there. And the last thing I want to put in there, I'm using a teaspoon here of whiskey. And now I want to whisk this together. And remember, you don't want to make this until your cake has finished cooling, because as this glaze sits up, it tends to harden, and we don't want to have made this glaze and then the cake not have cooled enough to hold the glaze on there. Okay, so this is ready, and now I'm gonna just let it sit just a second, cool just a little bit, and then we're gonna go and pour it right onto our cake. Okay, so our chocolate syrup has cooled a little bit, but still pretty warm, and this is kind of the consistency that we want it to be. Okay, so now I'm just gonna go ahead and drizzle it around this cake, and we'll see. So there we can see that we have drizzled her on, and I'm going to stop about there because we just want to make a little drizzle over it and let it sit there until it sets in, and then we are done. And that's why we got that little oops spot right there, kind of camouflage her a little bit. And then as it dries, what I do, I let it sit, and as it dries, I'll put just a little bit more on there, and that'll be it. Okay, and I just came up with this idea at the last minute to dust her with just a little bit of powdered sugar, just to let her be all the way great in her glory. Okay, so y'all, I'm gonna stop right there, because you know what, sometimes just a little bit is enough, and that's all she needed, was just a little bit, because she's pretty. She is really mighty pretty. Okay, so we're gonna stop her right there, and then we're gonna go on and get us a slice of this cake, y'all. Okay, all right, y'all, we got this little easy breezy inside out German chocolate cake together here, and you saw it came out of a box. But I would eat a box cake. I love homemade cakes, semi-homemade cakes, all of them, as long as they're good. And I can tell you right now, this one right here is mighty, mighty good. And that little bit of whiskey in there is what gives it a little level up to it. And I know y'all said, Lord, she cut the cake and she said it was for a friend. Well, it is from a friend. She just a little down today. And so I'm taking her half a cake that I sliced up and put it in a little circle there for her. Because it ain't doing nobody no good to take my whole cake and it's just one of them there eating it. But right now, it's just going to be me right here eating on this one little old slice that I probably don't need, but I'm going to eat it anyway. So y'all, here we go. Yes. Inside out, right side up, all of that right there answers the question on this wonderful, wonderful cake. And I gotta have one more little bite, so let me have that.